Cox say you will perform a hard. Oh, this translation's going to be so much fun. Yes, that is the real dialogue from the beginning of Elf Legend. And believe me, the story only gets weirder from here, so join me as I tell you the story of Elf Legend. I happened upon this game when I bought a retro game box from Lidl, and it happened to contain it as one of the 400 games. I picked up the device since it might be interesting to see what was inside of it, but also since it was able to have TV output, I could record it. So I picked it up for $7.99 plus tax, and I went home. Since it was during Christmas, I was busy with some other stuff, so my brother was going through it before I could. So he told me before I went back home that I needed to play Elf Legend. So when I got home, I hooked up the capture card and started it up. So when the game starts, we pick a language, and then it shows us the 401 games. And we see that number 7 here is Elf Legend. And also, for some reason, Chip or Dale is here. We start the game to see a Teletubby. It looks like Poe, but with the circle ripped. And then also a guy wearing a Charmander outfit. Where's the elf? Let's compare to the real elves. Do they have long ears? Yes, but they're also wearing an outfit like this elf and have a little hat. The results seem inconclusive at best, so let's move on to the game. So before it lets us actually start the game, we have to choose how many players, and I'm assuming that they would take turns, but I just picked one player. So now it looks like we have to pick a character. We have everybody's favorite Teletubby, John, or everybody's favorite Charmander cosplayer, Pika. I guess it really was trying to be a Pokemon. The game actually starts with a cutscene, which seems promising. We have a helicopter with no propellers land and take off. Why? Great question. Surely they'll answer that soon. To me, it kind of looks like they're leaving some kind of jail, so we'll find out maybe. Cox say you will perform a hard. What? What the fuck? Can he say that? Let's hope that he adds to that. Oh, he continued with mission. Okay, thank God he continued that, because that pause held for way too long when you name the first character you introduce Cock. It's not even a chicken, it looks more like a Dragonair you put through an easy bake oven. Let's see where the cutscene goes. So our mission, that is, you will to rescue Mario, who was seized by enemy. Okay, so what you're telling me is Mario is missing.
We gotta find Mario! And you gotta help us!
Either way, John is on board and says, okay, good to this. Now, a banana head person comes in. Totally normal so far. This is Joan, with the most unique spelling of the name I've ever personally seen. She says, John, how are you? Because clearly we don't have this pressing Mario rescue to start. John replies with exactly what Joan said, but then John adds, can you help me? Joan says, certainly, I will help you at right place. Which, thankfully, she specified because I thought she would try to help at wrong place. Where even is the right place? Where even are we? We're not given time to think about this as John says, hello Haji, as a new character comes in. Being completely honest, I don't know what I'm looking at with Haji. It's a large green guy with a mask, different head something. I don't know what's going on here. Joan decides she can't look at this either and dips out with, okay, I start off first, goodbye, and walks off. Haji says, Joan, you go slowly. Now I go also. So Haji showed up just to say, be careful, now I go too. As Haji leaves, a bee comes in, buzzes, and then also leaves. The bee is clearly our best friend in life because we don't need words for understanding. Now this monster shows up, and John says, oh, my dear Pika, how are you? So that thing is Pika? It the same one from the title screen? Okay. Still no elves though, but let's continue. Pika says, I am well, I will act as your helper. Despite how strange his characters are, they're very polite. John says, okay, let's go. Pika agrees with, well, let's go. So, presumably, we're on our mission to go save Mario. And they leave as Cox say, goodbye, I wish you have good luck. So now the game starts. The gameplay here is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2, which should have been a little obvious with Chip and or Dale on the main screen, but I hadn't played this game before. I only found this out because of a blog post I found on the game. If you played this game, you might have more context for what's going on, but I'm going in blind. So we'll compare this and the original game at the end. In this game you can jump, pick up and throw boxes or other items. You continue to the right or up depending on the level to find out where the exit is. The exit's not always obvious. Sometimes it's a hole in the wall, sometimes it's just guessing where to walk off screen. The first level seems like a kitchen or restaurant with some salt and pepper and stuff, maybe some creamer cups. I'm not sure what Chip and Dale go through at this point, but maybe it's similar to John and Pika's. At the end of the level, you jump into a sink or a fish tank-like container. When you touch the box, B comes out of it and flies up. The only thing in the box is us and a screw? Then B turns on the water and it seems more like attempted murder than helping us because Screws don't float. Luckily, that one didn't understand buoyancy and let us go. So now we meet up with Haji, who throws a donut or a jelly cookie that refills our health. This brings us to the first boss. So we have another Charmander-like character named Cola, who looks like they're riding or attached to a vacuum cleaner? What's going on with these characters? Anyway, John says, Cola, do you want to prevent our step? Which is a hilarious way to say you're getting in our way. Cola replies, yes, you must vanquish... Dramatic pause. Me merely. Whether you can accept my idea? I don't know what idea he's talking about, but Pika seems to, because Pika says, good idea, can you tell me how to win you? Which is really weird as well. Cola replies, ha ha ha, that is... impossible. Whether you are afraid of me... Which I'm not sure what I'm looking at. John says, no, no, no. Cola replies, okay, let's have a competition. So I'm assuming this is the fight. We're being invited to go fight them. And then they all run off screen. So it turns out it's a water-based boss battle. Cola's vacuum cleaner thing can spray water at you like FLUDD from Mario Sunshine. The water on screen will push you the direction it's moving. The goal is to grab boxes and hit Cola with them several times. It honestly wasn't that hard, it was just annoying to keep having to use the small controls on the device. If the boxes drop on your head, they actually stun you temporarily, which can make you slide off with the water, but it still didn't seem like a big deal with how far the water had to move you. After defeating the boss, we get a status screen that tells us our character, how many, heart boxes, and how much, P? What even is that? Also, we have 0 RRs right now. I think this is where having some knowledge of Rescue Rangers might help us, because at least that has RR as an acronym. But then we jump right into a bonus stage to get extra lives. You just throw a ball up and hit the moving objects. With the bonus stage over, we proceed to level 2, where it starts with a cutscene. John says, oh, I see Joan coming to here. Joan approaches and places down, is that a bomb? Is Joan really on our side? Joan says, hello, you are well, you are toilsome. Toilsome? Let's double check the definition for toilsome. Involving hard or tedious work. So even the game is telling us what we did so far is tedious. Pika replies with, you look well, so we can cooperate, go on. I guess at this point Pika did not notice the bomb Joan put in front of John. Joan says, yes, let's go on. Did she forget the bomb too? Pika says, okay. Joan, finally acknowledging the bomb, says, below 2 colors, you select which. And we have to choose between red or green. I guess she wants us to defuse the bomb for her? I don't know if this was the right choice, but I chose green. Joan asks, really? To my choice, and I have to choose yes or no. I chose yes, and Joan replies, notice. Then we all watch as I guess they cut the wire. The bomb explodes with the smallest explosion I've seen in the video game, and it disappears. Joan witnesses too and says, it disappear, so I guess I made the right choice? John replies cryptically with, I think perform still a gone scheme. My best guess is this means that John still thinks there's a plan going on besides the bomb. Joan completely ignores us and says, let's go, as they all stand there as the screen fades to level 2. Level 2 feels like it's in a sewer. Lots of pipes, running water, etc. There's a couple new enemies here. Nothing really stands out here. At the end of the level, we just continue off screen to the right, and that gets us to the boss for level 2. This boss is a flying biker dog with wings strapped to its arms. Anyway, it uses the wings to push us away from them. The strategy here is that we have to run close enough so that way when they throw rocks at us, they can land on screen and stop. Then you have to dodge the second rock, and then dodge the boss themselves. I found it was easiest just to run just shy of mid-screen, jump over the first rock, turn around and pick it up, dodge the second rock while also doing this to dodge the boss. The boss either stays in the air or sweeps the ground, so it's not too hard to dodge. I did find this boss a little frustrating, but the controls on the device aren't great, and my hands were starting to get cramped by now. After this boss, it's the status and bonus screen again, then we jump into level 3 with no cutscenes. So this level seems more like a factory with containers, grates, barrels, a lot of safety orange. We have an unavoidable damage spike pit. At least that's at the beginning of the level, but it does seem unavoidable. Things like this I don't think are good design ever. Later on, this level gives you a baseball that can be reused to clear out enemies in the buckets. They throw, snakes? Ties? Oh, it's a hat. Either way, past them, and then we get to the third boss. The boss of this area is a kangaroo with a drinking problem. I guess he's got whiskey because he shoots fireballs after taking a swig. Boss is really easy to avoid, but it's harder to hit. You have to jump up, grab a box, then jump down to throw it at them. The screen is constantly crawling upward, and the boss is actually really straightforward. It may take more than one try since you're likely to get there without full health. Just be careful not to fall off screen. It's an instant death in this game. Finishing off the boss, this brings us to level 4 where we have a new cutscene. The cutscene is John, Pika, Bee, and Haji on a dock. Pika says, "You see, Haji, come to here." I certainly hope he doesn't. Somebody sneaks into the hangar in the background. I suppose Bee tries to tell us, but Bee only speaks with periods, and I don't speak Morse code. John, not noticing, says, "Haji, you are well." Haji replies with, "You are well." John asks for directions. "Please you direct course?" Making sure to ask Haji to direct and not direct them. Haji has to think really hard about this for some reason. Suddenly, the sun is turned off and we see 2 sets of eyes in the darkness. John says, "Hey, too black," trying to be cancelled in 2026 because he meant dark. Pika replies, ... The lights turn on and now we see we're inside of a building, or a jail, or something. Then we look at what I originally thought was Haji, then we were being betrayed, but this probably is the final boss. Either way, they say, "Blokes, stop." I'm guessing this villain is British. Pika asks the right question finally, "Who shout?" Zima is introduced. This seems to be our main antagonist of the game. I'm glad it took them 4 levels to introduce them. Really great foreshadowing. Zima laughs at us. Haha. John says, "What do you think?" I don't reply to John because John has been spouting nonsense and doesn't deserve my thoughts. Zima says, "I have open timer. When time out, you will cannot pass." So I assume if we're too slow, we'll be locked in? Why should he allow us to escape at all? Pika says, "That's impossible," seeming to mean that we'll beat the timer. Zima taunts us with, "Haha, okay, let's watch who is right." We go back to our characters and Pika says, "How to pass?" John says, "No other way, only walk quickly." This is a reference to how there are only sprite animations for 1 speed in the game, so obviously we can't run. We are then told, "Start off," and the level starts. 3-minute timer is on the screen. We have to go to the right as quickly as we can to beat the timer. Interestingly, in this section, there are fans that you float over. We continue up and then left to progress. I reached the top in 52 seconds, so I'm not sure Zima understands how generous the timer was, but we escape to the status and bonus screens. Level 5 begins with us talking to Haji. He says, "You are toilsome." John replies, "Don't stand on ceremony." What does John mean? Pika tries to lighten the mood. "We are all toilsome," he says. John says, "Our mission is still hard." Pika ignores this and says, "Let's start off." Then we go right to the next level. These cutscenes don't really explain a whole lot, but at least there's no random bomb this time. This level seems to be more like a haunted house. They also didn't even mention the ghost outside. But there's holes in the walls, ghost, and sentient candle enemies. Then we start climbing on gigantic ghostly chandeliers and green candles. At one point the lights turn off and it didn't really seem to have a big change besides swap the color to blue. After this level, Haji gives us more food and I anticipate another boss fight. But instead it's another small level, then the boss after that. First, the room needs to be put into pitch darkness. So this boss looks like they killed the Tasmanian devil, made it into a mummy, and then decided that it should be a ghost instead. It appears to shoot some energy blast at us, and then it disappears. One of its attacks is to float up and down and drop rocks. That's what we use to hurt the boss. This one wasn't that hard, just dodge its faster rock drop and you'll be set. Then we're back to the status and bonus screens, but this time I earned my first RR, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. I tried looking that up. I could not figure out what that is. Back to John and Pika, closing an urn that I assume they trapped the mummy ghost in. John says, "Oh, we passed the stage again." At least he's self-aware this is a game. Zima interjects. "Fool," he says. Pika can read too and says, "Oh, Zima." John says, "What to do?" Zima foreshadows. Soon you will come into contact with trouble." Pika decides to wait for them to contact us by saying, "Okay, let's wait." John thinks it's a bad idea and replies, "Don't hear his nonsense," which is strange coming from John since normally it's his nonsense. The scene changes, but Zima is still talking. "Listen to me, you will die immediately because our master hands and follow stages." Does he mean Smash Bros. Master hands? Does he mean people good with using their hands to fight? I don't know. Pika says, "Truly?" Zima replies, "Yes, maybe you can go a shortcut," which is actually very nice of him to offer a way to avoid having to face his master hands. But he ends it with, "Hope you have no fortune." Pika points out the obvious by saying, "Bad fellow." Haji tells us, "I know how to go a shortcut, you see." And it gives us the option to jump 1 or 2 stages. I opted to not jump any stages just to see what else the game has to offer us. Haji makes sure we don't want to jump stages, and then we continue to stage 6 as John says, let's start off. Stage 6 kind of felt like a Castlevania level to me. Not exactly sure, it seems like they have a factory motif here. I mean, what even is this tower? And also it had these crusher things. So things like that made it feel really reminiscent of a Castlevania level. Completing that, we move on to the 5th boss. The boss of this area is a snake driving a wind-up wrecking ball construction vehicle thing. This boss was actually really annoying. The best strategy that I can come up with was just to wait for a piece of machinery, or whatever it is you throw at them, and then get in between the spike ball and the treads without getting hit, and then when he stops to drop the spike, you can throw it at him. You can't throw it all the way from the left since the chain seems to block it for him.
Nope.
Hit him a few times to move on to the next stage. Starting level 7, Joan says, to jump stage, and offers to let us jump at one stage. I chose no again to see what we could have jumped over. This level is a lot like clock tower levels in Castlevania, with the rotating platforms that look like gears. It's also another short level, and then we get the boss. So, we could have completely skipped over this weirdo if we took Joan's offer. It's an ostrich on a spiked unicycle thing. The main strategy here was to just wait on the top across from them, and just avoid wherever they went. Then throw the gears they throw at you back at them. Hit them a few times so we can move on to level 8. We start this level with Haji holding a book or something. He says, "You see? Course map in my hand." I'm really glad Haji bought the Prima guidebook to Elf Legend to tell us where to go next. John appreciates this with "very good." And then it cold opens to powder barrels. I'd like to imagine this is all the drugs the developer was on when they decided the story, but I don't want to insult them over a translation issue, especially when it came out this funny. After the barrel section, we have this rail cart section, which is floating, so if you fall off, you die. This part was the most frustrating of the whole game, and it has the most upbeat music to die to. You have to brake before the rocks, and then go faster to avoid the wrecking balls. This level caused me to die too many times, and I actually had to use a continue. Remember, this game is not on an emulator where you can use save states, so I'm glad they at least let us have a continue. And while it did let us continue, it's not so forgiving to let us start back on that second part of the level. We had to start at the beginning of the level, but at least we were still on the same level. That leads us to boss 7. This boss is a pink cat with a top hat that attacks with playing cards. Get close enough to the boss, dodge the cards, and then they stay on the ground so you can throw them back. The timing was kind of annoying, but the cards stay on the ground, so it was fairly forgiving. After a few tries, I was able to beat it pretty easily. This takes us to level 9 with another cutscene. John says, "Joan, work hard," which I wish we saw because so far I've done all the work. Joan agrees with my sentiment and says, "I should," likely knowing that all they did was put a bomb next to us earlier and offer to skip a stage. B is here as well for some reason. B takes the course map and John says, "Let's go there, wherever there is." Then they walk through the door. Inside this room, everything is yellow. John says, "Now let's discuss plan." Which is great, because supposedly we still have to rescue Mario, but nobody mentioned this past the beginning. Pika decides plans are for losers and says, "Now is the moment of truth." Joan agrees with, "Okay, play up." John decides to wish everyone well instead of discussing the plan by saying, "I hope we are all safe." Then they go on. This brings us directly to the next level. This is like a drill or robot factory. Something that would make me think Mega Man, but without the Mega or the Man. This level has conveyor belts, electric floors, and there were also constant flocks of birds that were trying to knock you down into the electric floors. Overcoming this, Haji offers more food to heal you. Then, after passing through some ball turrets, we reach a section where they spell out danger in the collectible blocks we've been collecting for some reason. Right after they are, we find the boss, Zima. I still don't know exactly what Zima is supposed to be. He has a spaghetti squash head with spider fangs and a single square baby tooth. He's also dressed like a generic large corrupt CEO or something. Zima taunts us with, "You are fearful," which is awfully presumptuous when Pika looks scarier. Zima is just confusing. John, full of confidence, says, "You will fail." Pika agrees with, "Yes." Zima replies, "But then our picked part is exist still," which is one of the most confusing lines so far for the dialogue. Pika replies with more nonsense, "Blether," which, after finding the definition, does describe the dialogue in the story so far, but I'm not sure Pika is using the word correctly. John calls him fool, then the final boss fight begins. Zima starts off by shattering the lights, plunging us into deep darkness as the floor lights make us seem like we're traveling very quickly, but we're not moving. Then a frog or heart emoji robot appears. It's a little bit odd, but anyway, this boss was not that bad, but the timing was weird. After he takes off into the air, he'll drop a bomb with a timer. Take the bomb away from where he's going to land, time your throw, and then make it explode against the body. He doesn't have many attacks, and when you know them, it's pretty easy to dodge. Hit him a few more times than the other bosses, and he'll blow up partially. Keep going, and then he'll explode fully. Surprisingly, the boss does not have a second form. That was it. So after the boss, we go to the end cutscene. Haji says, "We win, I'm happy." John says, "We are all happy, isn't it?" Haji says, "Yes." Then John and Pika run off. They don't really describe why they run off, but that's the scene. They just run across the screen. We zoom out to Haji and Joan overlooking a destroyed building. Haji says, "John, Pika, wait, did we die? What happened? Did they just run off into the building just to blow it up or something? What happened in the last scene?" Haji continues, "Let's celebrate our victory." Oh, so John and Pika are okay? Also, our victory? I did like 98% of the work. John and Pika run back on screen now. Joan says, "Come here." John and Pika both say, "Okay." Now Pika makes the entire game come as if I dream about our cock praise me now. Oh, hold on. He doesn't mean an officer. He's just talking about the guy at the beginning with the unfortunate name. Joan says, "Oh, you were too romantic." Haji decides to try to change the subject by saying, "You see, sky is how blue," when it's clearly a shade of orange. I think Haji might be colorblind. It's a good thing that we cut the colored wire on the bomb earlier. Pika may also be colorblind as he says yes to this. Joan asks, "John, how do you think now?" John, in his most coherent statement yet, says, "I hope any war will disappear from my Earth." John has claimed the single-handed ownership of Earth. The war is over, the world resumed quietude and coziness again. Is quietude a word? Yes, it is actually. Weird. Anyway, B makes an appearance as well. And with that, we're brought to the end of Elf Legend. Wait, did they forget the plot? Where's Mario? Did we save them? Is Mario this purple thing? What is it? Is that it? It turns out that yes, this is it. And it sits on the screen until you reset it. I'll complete the story for them. I'll add Mario in for them.
No.
That's the end of Elf Legend. Before we end though, let's quickly check out the actual Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 2 to see what the plot was supposed to be. As a quick summary, it starts with a blimp breaking out Fat Cat from prison, so that's why there was a helicopter with no blades, it's a blimp. Cock was actually just the news, and that was the TV, since they're chipmunks, it was actually big compared to them. There was a time bomb at the restaurant downtown, so they went to go stop it. Joan is actually Gadget, Haji is actually Monterey, and B is actually Zipper. The levels continue the same pretty much, but with a few differences. Zipper raises the water up for Chip and Dale to ride a gravy boat to the top instead of a screw, because we all know screws are known for floating on water. The first boss is Water Rabbit. Water Rabbit reveals Fat Cat's plan to steal the urn of the Pharaoh. The boss battle's the same, just a different color palette. It turns out Gadget finds the bomb and brings it to us to defuse it, not blow them up. They discover the urn is on a ship at the dock. It is about to leave port, so they rush over there. The sewer boss is the same, but with a background this time. The port level is the same. The enemies in the buckets are sea monkeys throwing their hats. The kangaroo boss is the same too. Monterey interprets what B says and tells them that Fat Cat went into the warehouse by the docks. That's where Fat Cat ambushes Chip and Dale. Fat Cat says the urn is filled with the ancient spirits, which probably explains the next boss. Anyway, the level is actually a giant refrigerator, and we have 3 minutes until we froze to death. Which makes more sense, I guess. The snowboarding enemies definitely made more sense because of that. Escaping the fridge, there's ghosts everywhere, so they go to a haunted warehouse. The ghost mummy boss is the same, except it's a different color, and the background fades in and out instead of just out at the beginning. Fat Cat comes back and says to face him at the amusement park. They take the bait and go anyway. He says we need 3 keys to get in, and they're all in different levels. So maybe we didn't have the ability to skip after all? I don't know. Chip and Dale go to the clock tower, Western World and Future World for the keys. These levels and their bosses are the same, but they're easier to look at because of their correct colors. Now that we know the names of the levels, Western World also makes more sense for the rail cart part. After those 3 keys are found, they chase Fat Cat to his office and they go into the secret passage. We pass through a short factory level and that's where they face the final boss. A Fat Cat robot which is actually a different shape than the Elf Legend final boss. The boss is still defeated in the same way with the timed mines being thrown at it. Once it's defeated, the building starts collapsing. Chip and Dale go after Fat Cat while Monterey and Gadget go for cover. They say that Chip and Dale are stuck inside of the building and that they're gone forever, but then they walk up anyway. They say that Fat Cat got away and they'll see him another day. The end. So that explains what happened in the actual story, and where things kind of went off the rail with the translation. But also some of the names were just made up, like for example, why did newscaster turn into cock? Anyway, turned out funnier this way. So, that's the end of Elf Legend. If you like this, subscribe for more. Leave a like so I know you like content like this, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a good one. Bye. This thing also has Mickey Mouse.